one time.
That's what she says.
What does that mean exactly?
It means we just got to take it one play, one possession, one game at a time, and it's Knicks in 5, baby.
So hello, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday morning edition of Stephen Justin Sports Talk, Sports Live, Sports Talk Live, one of those, with the Rabbi on this special day. That was a little clip from Justin's other occupation that was taken, so we put it out there, and then just because it's true.
That was a good call by Mario Signori after game one. Mario, long-suffering Knicks fan who I tortured for the last 20-plus years. Every time they wanted to watch the Knicks, him and his brother Mikey. I turned off the Knicks one night to put on girls volleyball. And Mikey never let me live it down. And boy, did I take a beating this morning in the text messages.
Okay, well, there he is.
Girls volleyball. I coached it for 8 years. It's really fun, but yeah.
So just in case some of you may have went to sleep or may have missed it or may have forgotten because they got too drunk celebrating, the little blur. Production.
I mean, like I was getting choked up. I'm not screwing around. I was getting choked up during that. They had one online with Game 4 with the Rocky music on after they won the game. You know, and I must have watched that 15 times. I'm Niagara Falls. I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. Well, and that right there, I almost lost it.
I mean, basically what it works for me is I can't use music like that. I would have played We Are the Champions, I would have played, but I can't use music like that because we have to pay royalties, and that music I own. So
that was
I could have done more pictures, but it was really about them winning, and it really was a stupid, amazing comeback where you say to yourself, now, come on. They can't really do this, right? They're down 6 points. There's hardly any time. There's 4 points. There's hardly any time left. And then you say to yourself, wait a minute. They did it the last game. They did it the 2 games before that. Matter of fact, they did it 13 times in a row. I mean, I don't know what to say. They played horrible till the fourth quarter, as always. Brunson had, 45 points, and the rest of the team had 49?
That's incredible.
It was, otherworldly.
If I told you that, and I told you that Karl Anthony Towns fouled out of the game with 2 points, where would you think the Knicks were this morning?
Yeah. But again, that's been this run.
That's right. But I would say this. The worst officiating I've seen in some time, when they called that loose ball foul against, I forget who it was, Robinson or Towns or somebody. Probably was Towns. I mean, they played it back to 2 guys. They don't even know the announcers don't even know what to say anymore. They said, they asked the professional that they have with them, and he says, I don't really see anything there.
Stumbling and fumbling their way through, trying to justify the calls on the court.
It was, yeah.
No, but they didn't even know what to say anymore. They were like,
No.
I can't even lie anymore. I can't even say that could go either way anymore.
Well, and the problem is with a series like this, it kind of has its own rhythm, right? So when the game starts to get physical, if a game's fast, it escalates and gets faster as the series goes on. If a team tries to slow it down, it works the same way. If a game is physical and the refs don't intercede early in the series, it gets more physical as the games go. Last night was like, people always say, "Man, I miss basketball in the '90s." I was watching it. That was what it looked like. Dudes just beating on each other, man. Like Judge pointed out, we like how many games like that have in the last 2 minutes two shots going off the side of the backboard. Like that was, and again, it was physical. I think I was okay with them letting it get as physical as they did. I think they missed some calls, but it was one of the better officiated games of this series, which is like saying is one of the better views on the Titanic. But really, like it was, it was one of those deals where like they let it get physical. And it was a good game. It was a really well defended game. Wembyana, again, he's made some enemies in this series, but I got to say that dude came out like Patrick Ewing freshman year at Georgetown against North Carolina. Like he blocked 5 shots in the game. He was so good at stretches on defense. It was unreal. But down the stretch, I mean, the possession where Brunson has him one-on-one in a clear out, and you're like, best defensive player in the world against the best clutch player in the world. Here it is. And Brunson scores, and it's like, that's what it's going to be. Brunson just
was an unbelievable moment. You were like, uh-oh.
This is going to happen.
So can I criticize the coach again? Because the announcers were criticizing the coach at the end of the first half. So the exact opposite of what I criticized him about the other day. At the end of the first half, he has him sitting down for like the last 4 or 5 minutes, whatever it was. And the announcers are like, this is the game on the line. You got to go in and whatever. And the Knicks come back. Because, first of all, their defense is ridiculous, San Antonio. I mean, they can't get to the hoop. Forget, you can't drive when he's out there. You can't. He just swallows it up.
He's so big and so long. He covers areas of the floor that other guys can't do.
I mean,
so how many times in the first half, and I texted this to you last night, I think, Rabbi, did you see the person with the possession on the Knicks try to like drive or something and lose control of the ball? And shoot like some and what did you see? The ball hitting the side of the backboard or barely hitting the backboard or the back of the backboard, and the buzzer go off because they used up all their time. How many 24 seconds did you see last night? More than I've ever seen in my life.
I think I would give the Knicks a little credit there in that they were not rushing their offensive shots.
Yes.
They were waiting for shot selection. And frankly, I think that kept them in the game and kept them within striking distance, because even though they missed, they took time off the clock, and it kept the Spurs offense a little bit out of rhythm and allowed the Knicks to come back later in the game.
Well, and again, that's been sort of the trademark of this Knicks team. I think Mitch Johnson is going to be a great coach someday. Mike Brown is a great coach, right? Like the
Obviously.
thing that, well, I mean,
he took this team.
Years old, he's just starting out. He was like, it was like when Joe Mazzulla won a title with Boston. He was like coaching a few years previously at a community college out in Delaware. So it's like these guys are, Mitch Johnson did some good things in the series, but he got out coached. And he got out coached by the best coach that I think is out there right now. Mike Brown was on in this series like I've never seen. And I don't think Johnson, I think Johnson paled by comparison. I really think that was the issue. I do think he addressed and tightened up the rotations better. And the defense was sterling. I mean, I've never seen such great position defense by both teams. I mean, they just were, they made that 24-second clock feel ominous,
Mike Brown's, his decision to play Alvarado with Brunson in game 4 changed everything. And then because he basically opened with that in game 5, because Alvarado and Brunson were on the floor pretty quickly before the end of the first quarter.
Yep. And in late game, having again, Shamet hadn't had a good, Shamet had 2 great games earlier in the Eastern Conference Finals. He went 11 for 12 from 3. So I mean, he was,
This
he
was
was
his
feeling it.
contribution from top to bottom from everybody on the roster.
Brown looks down the bench after Shamet has 2 bad games, like, you know what? You're going to be all right tonight. He goes in, plays great. It's like, and he was there on the court down the stretch, which was crazy to me. Like that, last minute of the game, Landry Shamet is on the court. In fact, when the Spurs were trying to foul, they literally left him alone. They had 5 guys guarding 4 guys, and Shamet sitting over there like, hey, how you doing? The Knicks couldn't throw the skip pass on it because they were.
Mike Brown has an incredible feel for his players and where they are in each moment of the game. So you got to give him credit because we're all Knicks fans and we all know what it was like to watch John Starks shoot in that last game that he played in that finals. And, I guess Pat Riley didn't have the courage of his convictions to make the switch. Mike Brown never would have let that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not knocking Pat Riley or John Starks. Just saying I'm giving Mike Brown credit for working those rotations.
I think Riley's view of it at that time is this is the horse I rode here with.
Yeah, I get that. I give him credit for that.
You know what I mean? And he has a lot. And listen, if he thought he could give 2 shits, he would have gotten rid of him. I mean, he's all about winning. And if you ever seen him talk or whatever, and I have gone to a couple of his motivational things because he used to be a hired gun for Nordstrom's when I worked there, and he would come and give motivational speeches. And he would talk about what it takes to win. So,
Mike Brown has it, that's for sure.
Well, the thing that was fascinating to me about Brown is how anti-instinctive some of his ideas were, right? Like in a coaching situation, when the game's getting away from you, the first thought everybody has is to freak out and start chucking threes. Brown doubled down on offensive rhythm and was willing to take 24-second violations trailing by double digits.
Yeah.
He believed more in getting the offense in rhythm than he did anything else. Like that was like, 99% of coaches don't do that in that spot.
There was no panic.
Yeah, he felt
no panic. Sometimes you think maybe they have no sense of urgency when a coach is, you wonder, does he think we're leading by 15 points? But I give him all the credit in the world for having the courage and the patience to let it play out the way it did.
And
that's something else I would say that we talked about last time, and is that with that group, you never know who was going to get hot. They all can win the game, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I thought he was throwing them out there to see who the hot hand was, and when he get it, he'd go with it. Absolutely. So, like you said, it was his instinctive way of dealing with it, and I thought he. What can you say? And when they made when they made the coaching change last year, I was the first to criticize. But yes, do I think you have to be able to use your bench? Ask San Antonio about their bench, right? Their bench last night came in and scored many, many points. And I don't know what the number is absolutely, but the Knicks bench didn't. So they didn't have that last night. And it's funny. It felt like Brunson was a little cold. Everybody else was cold. People were starting to fill out. We'll rotate through the bench. None of those guys got hot. And then what happened, as it always seems to happen when that happens, is it came back to Brunson. So he was like, all right, well, I'm the only guy here. So let me teach him a lesson. I mean, he taught like a Michael Jordan lesson at the end of that game.
That really was.
I mean, I don't know what else to compare it to. He was like, I know I can't win this game, but watch me.
Well, exactly. I mean, it was, they weren't getting anything. I mean, again, he just kept making plays, and again, his rhythm it was sort of one of those things where like, he had this look about him, like everybody else looked really panicked, and he looked like he was walking down his driveway to get the newspaper on a Sunday morning.
Always, his father is more fired up than he is.
I know it. he's like, I mean, I don't think there are many guys with the makeup of Jalen Brunson because he just looked like, he was implacable. And the thing about Brunson is, and I think this is the thing about him that makes him so incredible, is that he becomes almost the face of inevitability to another team, right? What happened to the Spurs is they were up 16 and nobody in the building felt comfortable. You're up 16 in a game like that, you're usually feeling pretty good. Everybody was waiting for him.
With that defense, you wouldn't be comfortable up 16?
I would.
Matter of fact, I still can't figure out how they lost. I mean, they just seem. I'm not sure if it's the Knicks.
What else did you need to see after game 4? They're up by 29.
I mean, there's two things seems to be going on. Knicks always find a way to win, and San Antonio always seems to find a way to lose. So what I was talking about is before was, so they sit him down. By the way, he was still dead on his feet at the end of the game, even though they rested him a lot.
Yeah,
which was the big criticism. I'm sure he heard it from everybody. And he just didn't. The coach just didn't seem to ever have control of the game. And like you said, at 16 down, they weren't comfortable. There was nobody comfortable. There was a couple of seconds, like on that big shot at the end of the second half, in the first half, the big shot they got to get back up, I think it was 5 points or 6 points, because they almost went dead even into halftime. Who knows how that happened? But they almost go dead even, and I think it was Fox or one of the guys had a big shot, and Fox should have been sitting down last night, but he really didn't. But anyway, and you see them get a little bit of momentum, but they have these looks in their faces. I mean, first of all, what do? You know what? Success is, as Justin always says, and I've said it for years, luck is where success meets opportunity. Well, they've had some success, but every once in a while there's the play, right? It's like, think of a batter in Major League Baseball. There's always a pitcher. Even Ted Williams had Allie Reynolds, and Allie Reynolds always had his number. He struck him out. How many times did he struck him out in the bottom of the ninth for the third out in one of his no-hitters? You know what I mean? So there's always somebody, and for them, it's the Knicks. Yeah. For them, if it's not Brunson,
I think there's a little more to it.
It's whatever. I think there is a lot more to it, but there's something that always gets in their head, because why? Experience tells you that the Knicks always come back.
Yep.
I think what you're watching here, especially after you listen to these guys in the post game, right? The coach from the last series did it. This coach is talking about it. Wemby said, we dominated for most of the series, and we really played better than them, as if you walked away with the trophy.
Yeah.
This is the analytics generation. They really think they won this series. They lost in 5 games. Okay. They a gentleman's sweep, as they call it, which I hate that term, but that's what they call it.
What is it called?
A gentleman's sweep, which you let the other team win one game. I don't like it. It's something I've heard recently.
I never heard of it.
I don't like it. A sweep is 4 games, period. But my point is, this is the analytics generation. We outplayed them. You just said they had a 16-point lead, and with that defense, they aren't they expecting to win the game? The coach is probably thinking, well, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. He has absolutely no feel for the game whatsoever. You're watching a 29-point lead slip away or a 16-point lead. You've got to call a timeout at some point and figure out another rotation, because this ain't it. And they really sit there in the press conference like, well, we had the game in the bag. I mean, we basically won the game without having enough points. What are we watching here?
It's weird.
And that's analytics. That's analytics coming out of his mouth. So I give credit to Mike Brown and the Knicks, because Mike Brown never managed or coached this game through analytics. It was eyeball test in real time. As one guy isn't working, get him off the floor. Like I said before, he put Alvarado in with Brunson for the first time all season in game 4.
Right.
He saw something that nobody else did, and I guarantee you there is nobody in the front office or in their analytics department that had an answer for that. And they couldn't. He had 2 ball handlers on the court at the same time to break that defense. And then he did it again in game 5 early in the game to try and figure out some sort of momentum or get the offense going. But he had, like we discussed before, the wherewithal to let the play clock come down. Don't rush any shots. Figure it out. And then when he saw what he needed, he knew in the fourth quarter that he could put Brunson to work.
Yep.
So what I would say about that, just one second, I would say about this. To me, that's a team ill-prepared, unprepared, whichever word you want to use. I mean, the statement is we really played better than them for most of the game, except we didn't do enough to win.
Yeah.
Because you can play better. Who cares? Listen, you could have a pitcher go in baseball, make another analogy. He could be pitching a no-hitter. Or he could be pitching a no-hitter in bottom of the ninth. He gives up a home run. They lose 1-0. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Or it has happened many times in history. So, what are you going to do? I mean, I think they're ill-prepared. I mean, I think they needed a better coach. They needed Popovich. I mean, Popovich would have been a real.
I was thinking about that, and you wonder, what it would be like. Like I said, if I told you Popovich was on the sideline with a 29-point lead in Game 4, would you expect to win the game? Of course you would. But one thing I will say about the Knicks team, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Mike Brown, but for the last 3 years, we've been talking about these Villanova guys and what it means to them to play together. And it was like it felt like a backbreaker when they traded away DiVincenzo because he was part of that unit, right? They even made the commercial a few months back where he throws in the hat, right? They love each other. And that is a family-oriented unit, okay? And they talk about how they play together and they play as brothers and they love each other, and that's real. And I think that stems from, and I know, the other guys that came in like Towns, they bought into this, so give them credit. Anunoby, they bought into this culture. And I think that comes from, Jalen Brunson carrying the Jay Wright torch with him from college. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Mike Brown. I'm not. It's just that last night, seeing Brunson hug his father. Now, everybody's going to have their dad on the sideline after the game. You win a championship in any sport. But seeing that epitomized what this team really is. They're family, right? An emotional game. Right. It's bigger than basketball. Their family-oriented culture, which is something that Jay Wright talks about. Villanova's program is known for emphasizing relationships and accountability. And while they're developing their game, these guys learn to come together, right? I mean, I know Mikal Bridges is part of that as well, right? And it's this symbolicness or symbolic culture where they are brothers, right? And a lot of championship teams talk about when they come together and what moment galvanized them. I don't know that you could really pick one specific moment from this team or this year because it's in their DNA. They've been doing it all along. Yeah. So I give him credit because I think Jay Wright has at least one thumbprint on this series.
Let me do a quick in defense of analytics here because I agree with you about instinct, but I do think that one of the things about this team that's impressive is the roster design. I mean, Brown had to know how to use it, but this is a very well-designed roster, and I'm sure analytics was a huge part of that. And I think that's part of what got him there. I mean, you have to look beyond things like this team is being led by a 6'2" left-handed point guard. Like the numbers did support that. I mean, a lot of this roster was designed extremely well, but it had to be utilized correctly too. So I think the problem with analytics becomes the Daryl Morey problem, where analytics is a hammer, right? You give Morey a hammer, he thinks he's got a toolbox, right? Like, it's one component in building. You need a coach with great instinct, okay? That's part of it. You need a guy who knows how to use each tool, right? That's him. And it was a beautifully designed
Right.
roster, perfectly put together. I mean, some of the guys like Mitchell Robinson had I mean, he hadn't been great all series. He was fantastic in the fourth quarter. There was one time he threw a box out on Wembyana where he had Wembyana out by the 3-point line. He hit him so hard. He just and this is
Right.
a second round pick out of Western Kentucky, from Western Kentucky hilltop to Chief Rocker. I mean, he was like just going, and like Mitchell Robinson with the game on the line. Mitchell Robinson on the line shooting free throws was like, I'm like, that is the epitome of this series, right? This roster is so well designed
Right.
that this guy can be in this moment not a good free throw shooter, but I mean, they missed a few down the stretch, but he made the one that made it 4, and that really put it away for them. And that was, to me, it was what the Knicks became was a long-term building project that coalesced around a guy who really, I think, is an artist as a coach, in Mike Brown. So,
No
I agree with you.
question.
I think the field part is there, and that's important. But I think roster design is huge as well. And this was a beautifully designed roster.
I think analytics are logistical, not tactical, right? So analytics get to you to shape. You look at a player, you see at it, he's a good player, but now you got him, right? And you got to think how you're going to plug these pieces together. And you're not saying, well, in a fourth quarter situation, he hit fourth, he shoots 20 out of 33s. I mean, we all know, and we all played some kind of organized sports, that some days you got it, some days you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you look at Brunson when he started hitting all those threes, and back to Justin's point, that there was a point where a coach should have said, "This guy ain't hitting any threes. I'm not giving away my whole season because he can't hit a three." So you do it sometimes. I think more in football than anything, that you ride the horse you came in with. But
analytics can tell you about the past. It can't tell you about the future. I think that's what.
Thank you for saying that.
right.
It can predict trends. It can predict what's probable. But what statistic do you measure what Jalen Brunson is by, except for wins and losses? I mean, it's like it's the Bill Russell. And sorry, I'm back on Bill Russell, but it's the Bill Russell argument.
Bill Russell's my favorite player. So
and rightfully so, because there was a guy who, again, it was intangible in a lot of ways. He was a 15-point-a-game scorer for his career, but all he did from the time he got in college, he won 2 championships, won 11 with the Celtics in 13 years. There was something about Russell, whatever they needed. Biggest game of the year, game 7, 30 points, 44 rebounds. He was there, but there's no simple statistic that explains what Jalen Brunson does. He carries a sense of inevitability. He must look like the Grim Reaper when the other team's up 16 and it gets like, oh God, this guy's got the ball again. What's he going to do now? And that plays into what he does well, which is pivot guys to death.
But he has something, and you brought it up that made me think of it, is that he has something that great players have, and that's when they hit the back of the backboard on their last 3-pointer, they have no problem with grabbing the ball and going right back to that spot dropping it in, because that's as many times as Brunson, you say to yourself, don't give it to him anymore. He's missing shots. You know what? All of a sudden he starts hitting them, and all of a sudden he carries the game. So he missed a lot of shots. I mean, no one can say the Knicks played well last night.
Nope.
But they played well enough to win against a team that they knew, and they used and fought, and they went after. They know. Listen, Wemby is, when he's standing there and you try to shoot over him, forget it. You saw it last night. He picked that ball right out of the air on, I forget who it was. Towns.
He throws the thing up, and like in mid-flight, he jumps up and down. That guy's 7'2" who just threw the shot up. I've never seen anything like that, man. He's like the Russian in Rocky IV. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, where the France? Do they got a factory where they make these dudes? I mean, like,
I-
well, yeah, this is like, the next generation Terminator, man. He's a great player, but Brunson is, if I were to say to anybody, who would you rather have, the 7'5" guy who's a great shooter and a great finesse player and a great rebounder and the best defensive player in the world, or the 6'2" left-handed point guard? You know what I mean? And the answer is the 6'2" left-handed point guard who
Without
just
a doubt.
knows how to win.
Meanwhile, the other guy can hit threes when he's hot and he's not being challenged. I don't think he's used to being. He's not physically ready for that game last night.
Yeah.
He's not physically ready to battle in a game like that. And maybe we all agree on that, right?
I think his conditioning is probably the most suspect out of all of it.
Absolutely,
and
because everybody says, well, he's big. He could shoot 3-pointers all day long.
Yeah, but he's not running the floor like somebody like Josh Hart.
Yeah.
He's just, and the fact that he's out there taking 3-pointers tells you he doesn't want to be underneath the basket. He's not running the floor.
Yeah.
We saw him at least twice in the series, but halftime with his hands on his hips, sucking wind. And he didn't finish in pretty much any of these games. When he says, we dominated for most of the series, except when it counted, bro. Because you were gassed.
You know where I think he's the weakest? Here and here.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't seem to have heart, and he doesn't seem to have intelligence. And I didn't see anybody except for Harper, who took a lot of bad, and he had a couple of bad shots.
Yeah, I thought Harper
he made some bad fouls. But I would take him. He's the guy I would take out of the whole team.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the problems that are showing up. I kind of grew to love Wemby in this playoffs because I wasn't sold on him, but I saw him carry them for stretches in ways that were amazing. They probably realistically shouldn't have been in the finals. And the only reason they were there was him. And a lot of times what he's doing is filling in the gap for what isn't there. When he's not, when he's out taking threes and he could be under the basket, it's because they don't have anybody they can trust out there, right? It's because, Castle gets hot for a while, but then can't hit anything. Harper actually, I thought Harper was the second best player on the floor sometimes.
No question.
And the thing of it was he was, I think this guy's got a great career ahead of him. These teams have to sort of learn. I mean, remember the 90s way? It was always like you had to get beat up a few times before you overcame it. It was the Pistons beating up finally getting past the Celtics, and then the Bulls finally getting past the Pistons, and the Knicks almost getting past the Bulls. But there used to be a logic to it, and I think there was. I think the Knicks really learned at the feet of the Pacers. Those two series against the Pacers, they played their hearts out, and they realized they needed more. Spurs haven't been tested like that. I mean, they have been tested hard in this playoffs, but this is, it's a 23-year-old kid whose, cerebral cortex isn't even fully formed. I want to see what he is in 2 or 3 years with a better roster around him.
I presume he's going to get better. I think the Spurs will probably have to look and see if their coach is worth keeping at this point.
Yeah.
But maybe he has to grow as well. I know he's young. But Wemby's got incredible talent. I mean, how many times did we see, oh, my God, did he just do that?
Yeah.
Right? He can do things nobody else can do. Once you package that with a little bit more savvy and a little bit more toughness and heart, he's going to be an unstoppable force. If he gets that streak in him and lets go of this mindset where, we dominated the statistics, so we're better, but you didn't win, he's got to become a killer. He's not a killer yet.
Yeah, but I think he could be, and I think he's going to be. Again, remember Jordan in his first playoff series had that 63-point game against the Celtics, which everybody remembers. Yeah, they lost that series, real bad. It takes time, and I mean, there aren't a lot of players who just simply were what they needed to be. Where Brunson is, Brunson worked his whole career to get to that moment. Wemby has an enormous amount of talent, and I think he'll continue to develop it and continue to grow. And I think we're at the beginning of a great ride with that guy, but it's at the beginning with him. With Brunson, this is the culmination of a lifetime of being in the moment in basketball gyms over and over again, to be the guy who's in the right place in the right time and to know what to do with it. And that's who
he said in the interview. He said at the end of the interview, first time he talked, he's like, oh, we got to win. We got more to win. Last night, she said to him, she goes, Now I know what I was. Because this is the moment I was thinking about in the dead of summer when I'm sweating my brains off, shooting hoops. I would motivate myself by this moment, and now it's here. So
Yep.
it really was great. But
Believing
I
it
have
into
to
fruition.
think, yeah, I have to
Manifesting
say
it.
though, I mean, without Wemby, they get destroyed
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
because Brenson. That's the only weapon against him.
They
He
wouldn't have got out
drives
of the
on
last series without
He
Wemby.
he drives on every
They
because
would beat Minnesota.
they had all this close protection, but he puts that ball between his legs, turns, flips, and he did a couple things last night I never seen him do before, and it was almost ridiculous. He had a move where it was like a double fake move, and he burned the guy bad. I don't know if you remember. It was towards the end of the game, and but without that. But everybody goes to drive, and then they see the big guy standing there and know that they can't shoot the ball 20 feet in the air. I mean, Brenton, I could see practice that to a point where he could do it. But I don't – I mean, Brenton's a sick talent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is – is he ever going to get that street cred? I mean, he does with coaches and guys like you who know a lot about basketball. But are the fans going to say, my God, this guy is amazing? I mean, he was clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think of some of the things he did, I think of Michael Jordan.
Yeah. There were a lot of people saying before this game that OG could possibly be the MVP of the series.
I heard that
totally
everywhere.
doubt I'm going to hear that anywhere.
No, not after last night.
Game,
and it's not a knock on OG.
Points.
I mean, he was so good. Really, I think the best play he made in the entire game didn't turn into a basket. But all game long, he's going to the basket, ripping the Spurs apart. And the pass he threw when he went to the basket and like 5 Spurs were jumping around him to knock it down. And he whips this pass behind 3 of them to Josh Hart, who's sitting there with nobody within 20 feet of him. Hart gacked the shot. He had a great game last night. But that was, I mean, Brunson just had moment after moment where you're just like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping this is for Wembyana. I really do believe this is the beginning of something. This guy is I've never seen anything. He's George the Iceman Gervin in Manute Bowles' body, right? How is
That's
this
a great.
and you watch him, he's smooth. I think great players
That's
are
the sickest shit I've ever heard.
It really is. It's like you
Right?
watch.
Am I right, Justin?
That was
mean,
great. I mean, only he could come up with that. That was great. That's why we have you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks. But what I love about him is he never seems like he's always deliberate. Great players. I had a player I coached years back who was like a state champion in track, a 100-meter sprinter, and it took me 4 years to convert her to a great point guard because she was so fast. She could do stop and 100 miles an hour in a second. Right. But she couldn't do the in-between stuff. You watch Wembyana, scale of 1 to 10, he's always playing at about a 6 or a 7 in terms of speed. And when the defense changes to 7, he's back to 5. He's always got him guessing. The only guy on the court who did it better was Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has got, it isn't 1 to 10 with Jalen Brunson. It's calibrated by, decimal points. He has every angle played and thought through in every moment. The dude is otherworldly. So Wembyana, again, the statistical victory thing, I did hear that and I was like, well, great. I'm in Atlanta, we had a statistical parade for the statistical win we had against the Patriots that year. I remember I was there and nobody else was there because we didn't win anything because it was 28-3 and then it wasn't, right? Statistics matter until they don't. There's one statistic that always seems to matter is the scoreboard. And the Knicks, even though they trailed by 10 or more in all 4 games they won, they found a way at the end of the game to get the numbers right. I was waiting for Brunson to grab the last line from the Untouchables during that interview. I thought he was going to say it at a certain point, which was I just was there when the wheel came round, and that's the truth about him, man. He just kept working and working and working, and when his time came, he was there.
I mean, first thing Justin and I talk about it all the time, and that is when we're talking about football, you think of Bill Purcell's. There are no moral victories in sports, right? There are no moral victories.
There's a lot of moral defeats.
The challenge for the Spurs and Wemby is going to be, now that the Knicks have decryptinated them in a way, the rest of the Western Conference has to look at this and say, okay, we can beat this team. He's not a machine. They have a blueprint now. Whether or not they can execute that is on their coaching staffs and whether or not they can put the pieces together. But this Knicks team, every championship series, even if it was with teams like, LeBron's Big Three or whatever, or Boston's Big Three, every single one of those championships, going all the way back to the Michael Jordan days, there's always a play or a player that makes a shot, whether it was Paxson, Steve Kerr, Robert Horry, Derek Fisher, right? It's Rainbow Three. The ball just comes back and he hits that three. Significant moment in the series where they wouldn't have won without that. As good as Kobe and Michael and everybody else were, that one play, like Anunoby's tipping, let's say, but everybody on this roster, for the most part, that had significant minutes, made at least one play where you could say, man, they wouldn't have won without that. They couldn't have done it if he didn't come off the bench and hit that three. They couldn't have done it if he didn't have that tip in. This is like nothing we've ever seen before. As great as Brunson was, I mean, we've seen great performances, and he locked it up, MVP. This whole team, this whole unit deserves credit for this victory. It's not just one guy. And I think Brunson would be the first to tell you that.
I don't know and again, this isn't the right time and place to be talking about what comes next. I think just enjoying the moment is important. But, in a lot of ways, this was the perfect storm for the Knicks, right? I mean, the Celtics without Tatum, the Pacers without Halliburton, Oklahoma City getting knocked off. I mean, again, it's not like they had an easy opponent, but I think this was the best matchup that they
I texted the judge from the hospital that night after the Celtics lost that the Knicks got a huge gift.
Yeah.
And they capitalized. I mean, they ran through everybody. They lost 2 games in almost 20 games, right?
Well, that's a big piece of this. A big piece of it. What teams win? What teams win in hockey? What teams win in football? What teams win in baseball? The teams that stay healthy.
Yeah.
And even when they got hurt, they stayed healthy.
They play whoever's in front of them, and you give them credit because they show up every night, the Knicks. They really do.
Awesome.
Because you think about one little piece falls out of that. Robinson, OG, Hart, Brunson, one of them are hurt. Where are we going? I mean, they may still have done it, but think of the game Hart had, whatever game that was.
Game 2 with the 15 rebounds.
And last night, by the way, another double-double.
What?
Last night he was 14 and 11, I think. He made some mistakes. He missed a huge free throw, a huge shot, but had a magnificent game.
I'm just happy for him that OG had that tip in.
Me too.
Because that poor guy would have lived with that for the rest of his life, missing that bunny.
Yep.
So I'm happy for all of them, especially Brunson and Hart, because I see them every now and then at the candlelight, and they are the 2 most unassuming people I have ever encountered. You would not know when they walk in the building that they're superstars. They're just humble, great guys, and guys you can root for. And I'm just so incredibly happy for all of them, but the 2 of them specifically.
Next time,
so think about free throws. When you talk about free throws, think about the ones that Wemby missed in the last game.
Yeah,
he'd have made those. The tip in wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might not have had a tip in.
Those guys walk into the candlelight.
You're right.
Next time, do me a favor, buy him a drink on the Rabbi.
So I'm going to add you to the list because I have about 14 text messages from 14 different people. The next time they come to the candlelight, it's on me. So it's going to be a long tab. Those guys will never have to pay again. I can tell you that.
That's what Dom texted last night. That guy's never going to have to buy a drink in New York City again.
Ever. Yeah. They don't drink. They come in. Like I said, they're very unassuming guys. They're really just cool characters.
Greatest part of sports when somebody makes the
I'm a little bit more success motivated than that. Next time they come in, ask them to come on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out.
I'll see if I can convert him, and we can do like maybe for Sukkot or something like that. They could come in and do a ceremony, or we could do a Seder, and like I could bring them in for that. And I'm
calm down, Rabbi.
Looking further ahead, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, where and when does Jalen Brunson get into the American Basketball Hall of Fame?
Oh, I would have taken him right off the court. Like literally, it would have just been like, congratulations. It's like, and I just had a bunch of guys grab him and take him. That guy's going in. Yeah, absolutely.
I think this whole team
We're
might
not
have
the
to
only
give in
Hall
at
of
the same
Fame
time.
Yeah, he's gonna have had one of the great careers in NBA history, and again, late first round draft pick. I mean, everybody had all these ideas about what wins. I remember being in Atlanta during the Billy Knight era, where every single player was 6'7", 210 pounds, and was a small forward. Everybody had
Yeah.
their formula, but the Knicks went out on a limb and decided Jalen Brunson was that guy, and he was that guy.
Like you said
Right.
before, right place, right time, right coach. I mean, could you imagine that Brunson would have been able to do this with the Mavericks?
No, they got Luka and Brunson in the same draft.
It's
Think about
incredible.
that. Like, I mean, like Donnie
And they're
Nelson
both gone.
bad rap, but like that was a pretty good day for him.
And they're both gone.
Yeah. Am I?
What, Luka? The problem with Luka is he started playing so young, and his wear and tear on his body is at a farther along level than most players.
Yeah,
And he's not in
Not
great
that I
shape.
want. He's not in great shape.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how he's going to age. I figure at some point they'll get him. He had stretches this year where he didn't look himself, but that team was kind of a mess. So I mean, in fairness, I think Luka's got some days ahead of him that are great too. But I think the Brunson and Wembyana may meet again at some later date, and we might get something like this. But I don't care, because this one we won. And since 1973, I was born in 1975. In my lifetime, the New York Knicks have not won a championship, and I can no longer say that. How great is that?
Well, I tell how long. My girlfriend asked me how long has it been, and I was like, well, let me give you an idea. I was on my 8th grade trip to Williamsburg,
Wow.
watching the game in the hotel, trying to talk to teacher who was the whatever you call the person that goes with you, the chaperone, to let us come on. Don't you like the Knicks? It's almost it's in the fourth quarter. That's how long it was.
Yeah.
1973, year I graduated 8th grade.
If you turn to the
All
other
right.
side of the Daily News, the headline would have been "Trouble with Nixon administration," right? Like that's how far back we're going. Like we're
That's
pre-Gerald
right.
Ford. And it just, again, it really did for a long time. I just never thought it was going to happen, and to actually witness it, man, that was cool. I'm just as a basketball fan, as a New Yorker to my core, even though I've been out of there 30 years, it was really a beautiful moment for the city, and I'm so happy. I really am. I feel such joy for those players, for that team, for New York. For that's a city that made me love basketball, and that's the place where I fell in love with it, Madison Square Garden. And I mean, that's not where the game was at that time, but Game 4 was, and the whole thing for me is New York. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, sure.
I mean, you got to almost think that 73 team, maybe the earlier team, the 69, I don't know if it was 68, 69 or 69, 70, that team are a lot similar to this team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't have that big guy. Now, Frazier's one of the great players of all time.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but I mean, they were all great. Anybody could have hit the day. Anybody, you had the Busher, you had all these guys that just made it come together, and they played with heart.
Yeah.
Which is what this team does.
And they had a lot of character too.
And they won. They won the biggest game of the season with their best.
And they
player.
were a lot of characters.
Yeah, they were. They were fun. Phil Jackson. You know what I mean? That was
Phil Jackson.
Yeah, that was those teams. Those Red Holtzman teams were absolutely wonderful. And but again, you get to a point where you've seen it so much, the Knicks just blowing it and blowing it and blowing it, and you just never think you're going to be sitting here on a Sunday morning thinking to yourself, Knicks.
I mean, this team, I never felt that they were blowing games. I think they just came up short.
Yeah.
But yeah, in years prior to this group of guys, you just, how many times did you see them lose 15 and 20-point leads in the fourth quarter? It just happened over and over again. And it just seemed like there was no end to that misery. And yeah, I made the comments years ago that the Knicks would never win with James Dolan, but he was able to take a step back and let West do his thing. That's why they won.
Clock being right once in a while,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
it
what happened
really,
with the Yankees.
yeah.
Steinbrenner
It's
stepped
funny, you're right.
aside and let Cashman do his thing.
Rob
Yeah.
Watson, but yeah, you're
Rob
right.
Watson, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, I mean, the story of the Yankees in the 80s was missed opportunity. The story in the 90s was that they took every opportunity. You got to grow to that, and I think everybody involved with the Knicks grew to this moment and made it possible. And I'm just grateful. So grateful I wrote a poem, which
All right,
is a little weird segue.
let's end on that poem.
Are you okay? I got a little emotional. Most people, like they see the team they've been watching all their lives win a championship, they go out and they drink a bunch of champagne or whatever. But me, I sat in my car at the YMCA at 6:30 in the morning, and I wrote a poem. I call it Rushmore in 5 Steps. I could probably tell you about Bernard the King, but the thing ain't the thing, lest you get a ring. And Mello, quite a fellow, but come round 2, his legs turn to jello. Now, I don't plan on disgracing Anthony Mason or continue to bark how Stark should be fed to sharks. And while I admire Stoudemire and refuse to go low when it comes to Thibodeau, X-Man, Smith, Wilkins, even Red, nightmares of bulls dancing on their head. For years with the life of Riley and Jeff, I'm thankful. I'm also glad he let go of Zoe's ankle. But it occurred to me, as it had to some, there was no hope. This day would never come. This team couldn't get traction, even under Phil Jackson. Cost a lot of dough to finish 500 and below, while Phil was trying to get the kids to read Ivanhoe. Every year they would get beat. They couldn't even get Charles Oakley a seat. And for Patrick Ewing, that generational soul, forever doomed by a missed finger roll. But I'm not here to talk about the past, although the 70s Knicks were all class. It was never too late for Reed to plant the seed that filled the city's aching need for a team that captured the dream. Go look at a tape of Frazier. Quite certain he'll still amaze you. Even Steinbeck's Pearl had nothing on Earl. But when we've been in the desert for many years, we found nothing but heartache, disaster, and tears. 50 years with Ahab, chasing that whale. Perfect storm comes along, they turn into the Andrea Gale. So they brought in Rick Brunson's kid. Folks didn't know why. They didn't understand that he is that guy. Evel Knievel, he got some stunts in, but he never pulled nothing off like Jalen Brunson. And what's in a name? How about Josh Hart? When the going got tough, the tough got smart. And sure, he had his ups and downs, but I am so grateful for the fingertip of Karl Anthony Towns. And there was that putback that we can never unsee by an original great they'll call OG. When things were down, folks panicked and looked around, but were guided by the brilliance of the great Mike Brown. And now that it's all been said and done, the trophy in hand, the battle won, I get to say something I thought I'd never say as long as I was alive. Much love, New York. Knicks in 5.
That was awesome.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job.
I got a little
We'll
emotional.
end it. I think we'll end it on that note. I think it was perfect. I thank the Knicks for all the ups and not that many downs in the playoffs at all. At the end of the day, they won, and we thank you all.
Yeah. Something else,
Thank
man.
you, everybody. Sunday morning, go do your thing. I don't know if I have a thing today,
I don't either.
but I'm gonna go watch F1.
I have
Races already
brunch in
started.
an hour.
I have read in the Knicks title and rewatching that game 37 times.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
you
Thank
guys
you.
next week.
You're the man,
All
Jeff. You're the man. Love y'all.
See you later.